The Battle of Jalut is considered one of the great battles in Islamic history, and it is of great importance, as it is the first victory over the Mongols that stopped their advance on Muslim countries. It was also a prelude to the unification and liberation of the country, and it yielded great results, the impact of which is still felt today. What are the reasons for this battle? How did it happen? What are the lessons we can draw from them? Egypt was groaning from internal conflicts after the death of the righteous king Ayyub and his son Turan. There is no Ayyubid qualified to lead the state, so conflicts began between the senior leaders of the Mamluks, who were divided between the Bahri Mamluks, who were supporters of Shajarat al-Dur, Mamluk comforters who support Qutuz. 15-year-old Nur al-Din Ali Ibn Aibak was sold as ruler of Egypt, and Saif al-Din Qutuz assumed full guardianship over him. Many of the leaders of the Bahri Mamluks, led by al-Zahir Baybars, fled, but strife still flared up. The Mongols, under the rule of Hulagu, the grandson of Genghis Khan, continued to destroy the Islamic countries, until they entered Baghdad and overthrew the Abbasid Caliphate and killed the Abbasid Caliph al-Mustasim. The Mongols advanced to Damascus, Aleppo, and Palestine until they reached Gaza, and they began to prepare for the occupation of Egypt. The leader of the Mongols, Hulagu, sent a letter to the ruler of Egypt, Sultan Saif al-Din Qutuz, threatening him and his rule, and calls on him to surrender and submit and hand over his country. However, Sultan Saif al-Din Qutuz refused this and began preparing his army to go out to meet them. Saif al-Din Qutuz gathered the princes, senior leaders, senior scholars, and people of opinion, and told them, "I only intended that we gather to fight the Tatars, and this does not come without a king. So if we go out and defeat this enemy, then the matter is yours after the victory. Establish whomever you wish in power." After that, things calmed down in Egypt. He issued a general and comprehensive pardon for the Bahri Mamluks, who fled to the Levant, and who were a great power with extensive experience in wars, so their leader, al-Zahir Baybars, returned and the Mamluks united. The economic crisis was a major challenge in preparing for the battle, so Qutuz gathered scholars and suggested that taxes be imposed to support the army. Then Al-Ez bin Abd al-Salam said that it is not permissible to impose taxes until after, that the ministers and princes be equal with the common people in property. The army is equipped with the money of princes and ministers. If this money is not sufficient, it is permissible here to impose taxes on the people to the extent that is sufficient to equip the army. Saif al-Din Qutuz accepted the fatwa of Al-Iz ibn Abd al-Salam and started with himself and ordered the ministers and princes to do so, so everyone obeyed. The Battle of Jalut took place in the land of Palestine near the city of Nablus, in the town of Jalut, and that was on the 15th of the month of Ramadan for the year 658 AH, corresponding to 1259 CE. Saifuddin Qutuz took a new approach in military planning in arranging his army, where he formed a large squad at the forefront of the army headed by Baybars, and made it advance and show its movements while the rest of the army was hidden. Katbuga gave his forces the signal to start attacking Baybars' forces, which he thought were the entire army, and Baybars and his soldiers carried out a rapid retreat to lure the Mongol army into the plain of Jalut. At this time, the main Muslim army descended from behind the hills to the battlefield, and a strong squad hurried to close the northern entrance to the plain of Jalut, and thus the forces of the Muslim army surrounded the Tatars from every side, and the fighting raged. So Qutuz threw his helmet and started shouting, "And his conversion to Islam! And his conversion to Islam!" A Mamluk prince named Jamal al-Din Akush al-Shamsi advanced and penetrated the ranks of the Tatars until he reached Katbuga and killed him. Thus the Tatars' resolve collapsed, and they began to flee, and the banner of Islam rose. Baybars played a great role at the beginning of the battle, as he destroyed the Mongol front guard led by Baidra and then cleared the Palestinian depth area of any Mongol presence. Rather, it was an incursion into the Levant until it reached the Bekaa and Homs as a kind of camouflage and to lure the enemy into a region other than the decisive battle area, and it was a prelude to victory over the Mongols. The Muslims defeated the Tatars in a great and honorable victory, which led to their expulsion from the Levant. The Muslims overcame the psychological defeat they were suffering from as a result of the incursion of the Tatars into the Islamic countries, the return of pride and prestige to the Islamic Ummah, which suffered from brokenness for 60 years, the return of unity between the Levant and Egypt, and a solid strategic alliance against any attack on Muslims. The discussion of the Islamic battles through which the Muslims were able to restore their prestige is not only for viewing, but history always repeats itself, and from the Battle of Ain Jalut, the Muslim can think about how he can repeat history. And from the lessons in that battle, victory is associated with faith in God Almighty, so when the Muslims turned away from their Lord, the Mongols took control of them and were able to occupy them and tampered with their security and stability, and when they returned to God Almighty and sought refuge in Him, God Almighty helped them. The wars that befall Muslims are based on religious conflict, and accordingly, Muslims must adhere to the Islamic religion to win over the conflict. Strength lies in entrusting the matter to his family, as Saif al-Din Qutuz al-Zahir Baybars assumed command of the front of the Muslim army, although he was considered a good competitor to him, with a long history and great strength, and a leader of the Bahri Mamluks, and many others who were considered competent leaders. History speaks of its evidence and events, and it is an honest witness that does not lie or deceive. Can the nation of Islam achieve its goals and glory without learning the hadiths of its prophet, his conquests, and his methods of managing war and peace? Because he was and still is its supreme leader, may God bless him and grant him peace.